to the mountaintop. Feel the rhythm of the people stop. Hands up high, let the bass line.
All right. My guest today is someone I deeply admire for her creativity, her presence, her unwavering commitment to walking through life, both with intention and beauty. Libby DeLana is an executive creative director, a writer, podcast host, and a mentor to many, not just through her work, but through the way she lives. You might know her from her Instagram at Park Here, This Cold Joy, This Morning Walk, where she reflections on grief, joy, movement, and embodiment. She's the author of Do Walk, and her second book, Cold Joy, drops this October from Chronicle Books. Libby has walked every single morning for over a decade. She's traveled the world, started modeling at 60, crazy, launched a podcast with New York Times bestselling author Alex L., and continues to create space for others to slow down, get in the water, listen to their lives, and honor what truly matters. At 63, she said she feels more herself than ever. And in a world that glorifies hustle and speed, she reminds us that the way we move forward through life is often more powerful than the things we chase. This episode is about listening to grief and beauty, learning to stay with hard things, and building a life step by step that honors the soul. This is Libby DeLana, and this is Been to the Mountaintop. How you doing, Libby?
Oh my gosh, that was the nicest intro ever. I'm just smiling ear to ear. I am so happy to see you. I'm so happy to see you.
I'm so happy to
Just
see you too.
making my week. That's for sure. I'm well.
Oh my gosh.
Good.
You know, we met from the Do lectures. And what an experience that was.
Wild. I mean, the thing about it is, I feel like it has such a profound impact on my creative life. I've met all my favorite people came from the Do lectures practically. I know.
Yeah.
That was over a decade ago. I don't know, 10, 12 years ago we met.
That was 12 years ago. Yeah, it was 12 years ago.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you how I got there it was I think kind of sponsored by Bloomberg. So yeah, we met because I was like part of like a sponsored group of people, like social entrepreneurs that got to go. And first off, where it was, Campo Vita, that's what it was called, right?
So beautiful. I mean, one of the
So
most beautiful places on the planet. I mean,
remember their garden?
and-
Remember their garden?
oh, and Ken the gardener. And Anna and Gary have just created just sort of this really authentic, grounded, earthy,
Yeah.
meaningful location. Yeah, everybody should check them out. They're
It
beautiful.
was really
Absolutely beautiful.
their garden on it was like Eden. It was like I've never seen a garden like this ever. Every friggin' fruit, every vegetable, every herb,
No,
ever. Yeah. It was
and I feel like every single plant, this sounds sort of weird. This may be a weird thing just to say, but I feel like every single plant was really happy. I mean, not only was there every single plant, but every plant, I don't know. Every plant seemed happy and cared for and seen and acknowledged.
yeah.
Yeah, it was certainly classroom in, yeah, how to be grounded, literally.
How to be grounded. Well, how to like live with nature, and I don't know.
100%.
I felt very, very lucky to be there and to hear all those stories. It was, yeah.
Oh,
So for those that don't know, Do lectures was like I don't want to say like a bootleg TED conference, but in nature, like I don't know, like
yeah,
right
I think that's right. Yeah.
in Northern California.
Right, Northern California, north of San Francisco. Yeah, I mean, but the thing that was so beautiful about it it still happens in Cardigan, Wales, where it was founded, is that the people who give a talk, it's not a lecture, it's not a speech, it's not a presentation, who give a talk, then stay on campus with those who are in attendance. So what happens is you might hear somebody give us talk that really, really resonates with you, and you can go find that person at lunch and sit down and extend the conversation. So it was, I don't know, it just felt very holistic. It wasn't as if people were up on stage talking sort of down to an audience. We were all together, arm in arm, and yeah, I just met some absolutely extraordinary people there. And it continues to this day, as I said, over in Wales.
So I ended up getting invited to speak a couple years
Yeah,
later. And do you know that like I legit never watched my video ever again?
I get it.
I felt like I bared my soul. I don't need to like relive that. Like yeah, it was really
I understand that. And I will just tell you, having sat in the audience as you gave that talk, that it felt very, actually, it just felt so trusting, right? I mean, the truth of the matter is you didn't know all of us, and this is what happens to many speakers. You didn't know all of us, but you trusted the situation. Again, I think this is the magic of what, everybody who creates the dude actually is able to, sort of create these beautiful conditions. But you clearly up there trusted us with this intimacy and this vulnerability, which, as we know, those are two things that are very hard that we don't often see or feel. And I just remember sitting there thinking how brave you were, how meaningful the conversation was, and how, in a way, your trust of those of us listening was just, it's kind of, I mean, this is sort of funny language, but it's just incredibly loving to
thing.
love us enough to, even though you hadn't met us, to trust us with that story it's really impactful. And
Yeah.
so I remember your conversation, and I totally understand why you wouldn't go back.
Yeah.
I get that.
Yeah. So you said at 63 you feel more yourself than you ever have. Can you just take us into that becoming and what did it take to get there?
Yeah. And first, I should start by saying I don't have any regrets. One might say, gosh, it took you until you're 60, 62, 63, whatever, your sixth decade to feel more yourself than you ever have. And there could be regret there, right? I could look at that and say, oh, gosh, why did it take so long? I mean, it takes the time it takes, number one. I'm grateful to be here. Every step of the way was required to end up here. So I have no regrets about how life has gone. I will say, I think some of the key sort of tent poles of arriving here is, it's for me anyway. I'm not saying this is true for anybody else other than my experience. Doing things that are really hard has been, in many ways, the ultimate teacher for me. Doing things that maybe the little voice in my head says you can't do, or who do you think you are doing this? In the last 3 years, I've done some things I never would have thought I'd be doing. And I think it's my sense of curiosity. And I hope this doesn't sound egotistic. Well, I mean, if it does, it does. I've now come to a place where I trust myself in these scenarios, to do the things that are hard, to do the things in many ways I have no business doing. I am not a writer. I grew up, my career was as an art director. I was always partnered with people who are writers. And that is a craft I honor. It is a beautiful, beautiful craft. It's not my craft. I'm not studied in it. I'm not trained in it. And yet here I am about to have a second book come out. And so that's wild. At age 60, as you mentioned, all of a sudden I spent my career behind the camera. I'm now in front of the camera. What?
What? That's wild.
Right. And so it would be easy to get to those moments and and listen to that little voice in the head. And I've given her a name. Her name's Ruby DeBina. And Ruby shows up to protect me, and she says, you can't do that. You're not a model. It's a language I don't love anyway, but you're not a writer. And I think what's happened as a
You
result,
said Ruby what?
I call her Ruby DeBina. What's her name?
It's like Libby DeLana's alter ego. Yeah.
That's right. And she has
that-
big lipstick and her hair's like just fucking
Yeah.
wild. And she's sassy and she has a loud voice and I trust her. So I believe her. That's really what I should say. I believe her. And I know the reason she shows up is to protect me, right? She's saying you shouldn't get in the cold water. What are you doing getting on set in front of the camera? You've got deep wrinkles and you're like, what are you doing? So I understand why she's there. But I guess the way I got to be at this place is doing really hard things, being curious. Yeah, and maybe taking some of the cultural narratives and pushing them to the side. How about
Like
you?
your
How do you? Yeah.
no, I was just gonna say, so your culture, and I was like, oh, at 60, 55, like you're not supposed to be doing. You're supposed to be retired. You're supposed to be like chilling. You're supposed to be and you're just like consciously pushing them aside. Consciously, is it conscious?
Yes. Oh, yeah. I mean, there's others, the whole narrative of aging, there's this
Yeah.
whole anti-aging in the beauty industry. I'm like, what? This is not my original language. I wish it were, but it basically, I heard someone say, aging's just another word for living. I'm like,
Yeah.
yes, right. So that's why I stand in front of the camera these days.
Yeah.
It's because actually I don't see a lot of imagery in mainstream culture that
Mhm.
I mean, I've had gray hair since I was mid 30s. I have chosen to age naturally. I'm not saying that's for everybody. I'm not saying it's better or worse than anything else. That's just how I'm moving through the world, in part because I'm just terrible at all that stuff. But I also feel like the world deserves to see this beautiful range of ways to move forward.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I guess I've chosen to sort of tuck curiosity in my back pocket and try some shit out.
Yeah.
Be afraid.
That's a really important thing, especially as you get older. I just turned 50, and the hardest part, I mean, I'm a couple weeks in, the hardest part about being 50 was saying 50, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I realized not too long ago, I was like, wow, it's like, when people say life is short, I kind of believe that, but kind of don't. And it's like a phrase that like I don't want to buy into. I want to say life is long, and at the same time, I want to say that as long as we have our brains, we have our physical abilities, and we got good people around us and love and community, we can run to forever, like forever. And right?
It just looks different.
It
I
looks
mean, the
different.
way I'm running at age 63, I mean, I don't mean literally, but the way I'm moving through the world is just different than it
It's
was 10
different.
years ago, different from 20 years ago. And that's cool. It's
That's
fine.
cool.
I
It's
mean,
cool.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
And what I have tucked in my pockets is this kind of knowledge and wisdom and groundedness that maybe I didn't have before, or I believe these cultural narratives a little bit more. They were louder in my head. And, I guess, I don't know, is it the wisdom of being 60 that actually, if my dearest friend and I keep saying, if we're lucky, we have 30 summers left. And we don't think of that as sad. We don't think of it as melancholy. It's just sort of a reminder that the currency that is most valuable to me right now is energy and time.
That's
And I'm also very privileged and lucky in a number of other areas in life, but
yeah.
I don't think I had that knowledge 10 years ago, 20 years ago, that the energy and time are like the most valuable thing. And that just comes from getting closer to the end of my life than the
Yeah.
beginning.
Yeah. So your story isn't just about reinvention, it's about returning. Like what do you think you're returning to what?
Yeah, that's a great question, Steve. Well, I think the other thing that happened, and this dovetails with my walking practice, which, as you noted, I've been doing, I'm coming up on 14 years every single day. And this walking practice is not about miles or number of 10,000 steps or anything. But as a side note, actually, I did a quick tally a few years ago and I've, walked the circumference of the earth, which is just kind of a cool thing. I don't
Casual.
really,
That's a casual. That's
I know, right? I mean, and here's the
that's a
truth of the
casual.
matter. There are many other people on the planet who've done it. I am not unique, but
Yes, yes,
yeah,
yes.
it was kind of an interesting thing. So I think to answer your question, I think it dovetails with going for a morning walk and then actually getting in the cold water. So the reason I started going for a walk was not about exercise or being fit or anything. What I realized when I kind of woke up when I was 50, which was that one of the key things in my life I wasn't prioritizing or making time for. And what's that? That was being outside.
Mm.
I love being outdoors. It is where I blossom, bloom, think, heal, get fed. And that was a big part of my life when I was younger. And what I realized at 50 was I was spending a lot of time in the car, carpooling, meetings, grocery store, whatever, right?
Mhm,
Lifing.
mhm. Yeah.
But what I hadn't done was prioritize the thing that really makes me who I am, which is being outdoors. So I just sort of thought, okay, well, I'm going to get up an hour early and I'm going to go for a walk, which I have to say was sort of hard because I grew up as an athlete. I'm like, what the hell are you doing? You're just going for a walk? Why aren't you running? But the point was not, again, not exercise or working out. It was acknowledging that for me, whatever the weather, the rain, the snow, the ice, being outside was an essential part of who I am. And so I just started going outside. It's like brushing my teeth. It's a non-negotiable at this point. I don't care if it's hot or cold or icy and so I go. And it's kind of the same with getting in the cold water. It's a place where, and I tend to get in wild water. So it's a place where, I don't know, I feel most myself. And so maybe that goes back to the previous question, which is I started prioritizing the things that were for me, made me who I am. And I hadn't done that for decades.
Yeah. Yeah. And you start to feel like, oh, this is truly me.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
this is where I am me mostly.
And this is where I am me most. Do you find like so like I've felt a little bit of invincibility like by like skateboarding or snowboarding, and where you like eat crap and you just kind of learn to like push through the uncomfortable part because at the end you're going to get the end result. Is it the similar thing with cold water?
Oh, yeah, it is. It's that cliche but true statement of getting comfortable with what's uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I mean, I have to say that, growing up, I would go backpacking. One night I got really cold. I never asked for help from my, temp mates or the counselor. And so I got really cold. I got really scared about being cold. I wasn't in danger or anything. It was just really uncomfortable. I was like 13. I didn't make myself a cup of tea. So I had this narrative in my head, which was you hate the cold. And that followed me through my whole life, honestly. I mean,
Damn.
to be perfectly honest, I was the asshole in the office who, when anybody said, let's turn the air conditioner, bring the temperature current, I go and get my puffy coat, right? Like, it's so ridiculous. So it was kind of this limiting belief. I hate the cold. I live in New England.
Yeah.
It's a limiting belief. And so there was a few things that were happening around the time of the pandemic that were monumental in my life and not necessarily positive or by choice. My marriage was dissolving. My work was beginning to look very different.
Yeah.
And so I began to sort of think, what if, and during the pandemic, one day we hopped in the water. It was like all the light switch went off. I was like, oh my God, this is incredible.
Yeah.
So then I started to think, what happens if I got in the water, which I think is really uncomfortable, but I was able to navigate it?
Mm-hmm.
I now can apply that same lesson to these other things that are really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And so it became a learning place for me to navigate, learn how to be okay and safe and
Yeah.
loved, even when it's uncomfortable. And so this tool of getting in the cold water became a resource for being able to help me navigate other parts of my life that were equally as challenging. And they were things that I identified with as a founder, as a partner. And so it's like, well, if this over here is porous, meaning you hate the cold, but if that's porous and you can change that, you can actually change these other two definitions too.
For sure.
So, yeah.
And the word cold joy, right? Like, what does that title mean to you?
I think what has happened in the last few years, if we look in social spaces, we see people getting in cold water, and the way I see it and understand it is there's a little bit of this it's kind of competitive, like how cold, how long.
Yeah.
You always have that. And that's just not how I get in water or how the, people I get in the water with. It's more joyful. It's it's spiritual. It's playful. And so that's kind of what it means.
Yeah. And the pictures that you share, I texted you the other day. I was like, oh my God, that must be so much fun to like just be cold as crap with people, right? Like, because you're not doing it by yourself.
Right. Well, I wouldn't recommend anybody do it by yourself, especially when it's, I think I sent you a picture where we had literally taken an auger, like the tools that ice fishermen use and an ice saw, and we cut a hole in the ice, and the ice was maybe 18 inches thick, and then we slide down into the water. Not a good idea to do by yourself. So, yes, so I do it with my wonderful, wacky, playful, joyful friends. And we just laugh the whole time. We're like, can you believe this? We can't
Wow.
believe this. We can do this. And I think the other thing that happens is you are so
Wow.
proud of the other people you're with. And
Yeah.
that's really joyful.
That's really I don't know. And it seems like have you started to collect people around you that like kind of like buy into this whole sort of, I mean, listen, from the first time I met you, you've always had what the kids say aura. Like you have this presence around you, and I think without you even wanting it, you bring people around. And people want to be around you. That's from my perspective. Like if I could spend a lot of my time with you, I would. Right? We just don't live near each other. And so when you started with the walking thing and you built like this little bit of a community globally where people started sharing your hashtag, and then now you got this cold water thing, right? Like, who are the people that you tend to attract? Because the framework in which you are living life is the thing that I've started to like, I mean, many years, like it's like from a marketing perspective, it's like you pick a niche, you build a brand, you build a community around the brand, right? And then you figure out how to like service that community through products and events and what have you. But like for you, I mean, it's obviously natural, right? Like these are things, and then you're sharing your gifts to the world. And so like, who are the people that are part of your community that like when you think about your top 5, your top 10, like how would you sort of describe them?
Well, first off, thank you for such, those are really kind notes. I mean, I would say the same right back to you. I remember meeting you and thinking, wow, this person has a lot of sparkle.
Yeah, I would.
I want to be near that sparkle.
Absolutely. Wow.
So,
That's why we're here. That's why
Right,
we're
we're here.
connected for sure.
whenever it is,
12 years later.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So, I mean, thank you for those. I'm trying very hard to receive them. It's, I don't know if you feel the same way, but sometimes when some of that gets reflected back, it's, I don't know, is it hard to receive? I'm not talented at it. So thank you. Who shows up? Well, you know what I have to say with this cold water business, I am so in awe of the people who show up. And the way I would describe this sort of crew of mermaids who call ourselves mermaids is people who are cold curious. It's mostly women, as it turns out. And I guess here's what I've learned over the course of this time is there's not a lot of places, Steve, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, where we still hold dear ritual. And there's something about ritual that's really meaningful and beautiful. I mean, this community I get in the water with out on the West Coast underneath the Golden Gate Bridge, it's a standing dip every morning, 7 a.m. If you can come, great. If you can't come, no worries. You don't have to text anybody. People just show up. And every morning now, I think we started a handful of years ago, at least 10 or 20 people show up every morning. I mean, right. And then we have these big sort of bashes. We have, a disco dip and, we have other playful where sometimes there's 50 to 100 people, which is amazing. And I don't know, it kind of makes me choked up because I think back to this sort of concept of ritual is to have something in our lives that we can touch into with other people, with community of, I'm going to say like-minded, but what I don't mean that in a narrow way. I mean it in actually a really expansive way. People who are interested in exploring new aspects of themselves. I mean, none of us have gotten in the cold water before. And yet there's something about it that's really loving. I will tell you, here's one really key piece is, in general, people I get in the water with, 90% of them are women. And Steve, I'll tell you that I have heard so many times people come up to me and say, you know what, I haven't been in a bathing suit in decades because I don't like this, and they start pointing to someplace on their body. And I think, oh my gosh, what have we done to women? I mean, these are brave women for getting in this icy cold water. And brave for showing up, brave for putting on a bathing suit. And I think the thing that we do for each other is just love each other all the way in, scream joy at the top of our lungs. I mean, when it's somebody's birthday, we make a circle, a person comes in the middle, we sing happy birthday to them. And
Yeah.
it's this ritual of acknowledging and seeing each other wholly and fully. You know, I've got a 63-year-old body, man. It does not look like my 20-year-old body. And I'm
Yeah.
just really
Yeah.
fucking proud of what I can do. And I think we feel that about each other. So I don't know how to wrap up who these individuals are in a really concise way, but, you know, loving, brave, curious. I also think, just quickly, the other thing is, I don't think there's a lot of places, I'll speak for women, to show up with their full brave self very often and so this is again, a beautiful ritual
Yeah.
that touches
Yeah.
into a lot
Well, I mean, it seems
lot of
like
components.
based off of you that
Mhm.
like this whole idea of ritual is really important for you, and that's how you show up in spaces, right? So like you're walking, you're cold, you're journaling, like like all of those practices uh are really, really important. One thing is that go ahead.
They are. Yeah, no, and I was going to say, even just, I think we've come to the place where even I do this. I use the word practice kind of casually, but the truth of the matter is, every single time I get
Hmm.
in the water, I am practicing getting in the water. It's not easy.
Yeah.
It's not, it's still a practice. Going out on the morning for a walk,
Yeah.
even if I don't want to, I just don't want to today.
Yay.
And Ruby's like, you don't have to. You've been going for 14 years. And
Yeah.
so it's like fidelity to this practice. It is even when it is hard, I think I've come to recognize that this ritual, this practicing, it's like a seated meditation, right? There's
But all of this
something
is happening.
hard.
All of this is happening in a world addicted
So
to
I think your
novelty.
point,
You know what I mean?
that's a really good
Like,
point.
like even
Right.
the cold, like
Yes.
people are drinking less, but they're addicted to something else. Like, you know what I mean? It's a really interesting world that we live in right now. You know?
Yeah. 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 I'm going to think about that on tomorrow's walk, to be perfectly honest. But, yeah, I think the concept of, I don't know, it's just
Mhm.
fidelity to ourselves, whatever that may look like, a seated practice, a journaling practice, and honoring that word that, each day, no matter how many times you've done it, still there are moments when it's challenging. Actually, I got in the cold water this morning and it was really low tide. We basically had to lie down in the water. I was like, this is actually kind of hard.
Yeah. So, question: who
Okay.
mentored you into your fullest self, and how do you hold space for others?
You have such good questions. My goodness. Who mentored me? I don't know. I don't know, this may sound sort of odd, but I grew up with two actually wildly sparkly parents. My mom just passed away a few weeks ago, and I've been really looking at photographs of her and really listening to people who are sharing their stories about her, of how she moved through the world. And kind of same with my dad. My dad died a long time ago, but one quick story about him is, I'm 6 feet tall. I was probably 6 feet by the time I was 13 or 14.
I
We
was.
lived in the mid 70s. I know you weren't even born yet. But my dad one day brought home, despite the fact that I was 6 feet, he brought home a pair of platform shoes, which were at the time, all the rage. I was 6 feet. So I put on these platform shoes. I'm like 6'5" at age 13. So I guess it's sort of like, I don't know, it feels sort of cliche to say my parents. I mean, there's certainly many people along the way um, who have really influenced me. But I think the active sort of mentoring, is these memories of how my parents moved through the world. So my mom, being a widow, by the time she was 50, traveled solo a lot. Yeah, it's a great question. I don't think I have a crisp answer for you, but there's certainly been a lot of people and a lot of hard lessons along the way that have shaped me, but I can't say I have a crisp answer for a person or a mindset or, um,
What would you,
yeah,
if you could mentor a
question.
25-year-old Libby,
I want to think about
what would you say to her?
Yeah, I think I would encourage her to do what it took me until I was 50 to do, which was to remember the thing that it used to just totally light me up. And again, it's being outside. It's as simple as that. And to see how I might be able to, whether it's daily or is to make sure it's woven into my life in a meaningful way. So, I could say creativity is the same thing, is similar. And this is a quick story. I don't know, about 6 months ago, I was with two dear friends. They're incredible, incredible creatives. And one morning, one of them, Kathy, brought out what I think we all later called the art tray. And it was just an old tray. And on it was watercolors and paintbrushes and crayons. And it was all kind of beautifully it's like a little mini studio on a tray. It wasn't organized. There's cut up paper on it. But as we sat in the morning to have tea, out comes this art tray, and we all just start painting and noodling around. And I think for me, that's an example of how to make sure those things that nourish you in the most meaningful way, that make
Yeah.
you, are part of your
Right.
life. So now I have an art tray, and it's as simple as that. It's
Yeah.
bring it out. I put it out. So I have my cup
What
of tea in the morning.
are you still writing a letter to yourself every month? What?
I do. Yeah, I write a letter, and I have an ongoing Google Doc, which I have 6 categories, and under each category, I touch base with it at the beginning of every month, and under each category, I just write. I guess it's the equivalent of a vision board, but
You're
it's not
creative.
visual.
Yeah,
which is
visual
odd,
creative.
and that's my ecosystem. But I write dreams down there. My dad used to say to me, I know. My dad used to say to me, dream bigger. I mean, so this document I've now had for years, and literally I'll just write shit on there that just like, wouldn't that be fun if that happened? Wouldn't that be fun? Steve, I can't tell you how many of those things I then go back and I check the box next to it like, guess what? That thing happened. So I keep putting these big dreams. Sometimes it takes years, sometimes it takes 6 months, and there's some things that never sort of come to fruition. But I think what happens is when I put something on the list, subtly in my subconscious, I've now committed to it in some way. And I'm subtly taking small gestures, little steps that might not even be visible, or kind of unconscious, towards this outcome. And some of them I don't even want to say I
Yeah.
can't believe, because I don't want the universe. I can believe
For
it,
sure.
but it's just astonishing. And the letter is basically just sort of looking back and saying, what honestly, what worked, what didn't work. It's sort of like, and it's okay when things, that didn't quite work. How did that
Yeah.
feel? I didn't feel so good.
Yeah.
Okay, let's not walk out.
What's something that you're expanding into that scares you or excites you?
Well, I mean, what a great question. I mean, this next book scares me. Honestly, it's by a big publisher. It's, it's
Yeah.
scary putting creative into the world. It just is. It's intimate. Creativity is a very intimate act. I'm excited and scared. I have for the last several years wanted to get my pilot's license, and around the time of the pandemic I had all arranged going to flight school and sort of immersing myself in doing that. I don't know if I'm going to do that anymore. The modeling continues to be, honestly, in many ways really terrifying.
Yeah.
And
How did that
it's
happen?
really fun. I've met some really, great question. So because of my crazy Instagram, which I literally started simply because it was the business that I was in, I felt like I couldn't walk into a client meeting without having a perspective on social media. This is over a decade ago. Because of this Instagram, Clinique reached out and said, hey, would you like to, be part of this campaign? And I actually thought they meant as creative director. It's like, oh, cool. Yeah. I mean, let's talk about it. And they were like, no, we'd like you to be in the campaign. And I thought, ooh, wow. Talk about scary. I mean, but I knew how the whole ecosystem worked. I'd been on sets my whole life. I had watched models. I love working with photographers. So it was sort of around the pandemic. I'm like, what the heck? What do I have to lose? And most importantly, actually, they were going to be working with a photographer I really admired and who's become a dear friend, Dario Calmese. Dario's young man, he shot the cover of Vanity Fair with Viola Davis. So he was a young black man, first black photographer to shoot the cover of Vanity Fair. And I so admired his work and I admired, what he was doing. So honestly, it was me just absolutely thrilled to work with him. And I think I know how to work with photographers. So I got on set and I'm like, Dario, I don't really know what I'm doing, but feel free to give me all the notes. I'd like to believe I'm really coachable. And he was so gentle and kind and then from there, as it turned out, somehow I landed what's called a mother agency in New York. And now they just keep putting my name in front of various things. I shot with
Wow.
Jonathan Van Ness and Alicia Keys' brand and a big
Which integrated the cold water stuff too, right?
Which has been really fun.
Oh my God, that's
Yes, the Verizon did. Yeah, they're like, okay, come on out. I know. So that was kind of wild. I will say this last year, it shifted the whole cultural environment of showing, of featuring, fashion's industry. And I would say the culture now is maybe less inviting to unique faces and
diversity, as
faces and so on. But
some would say.
nonetheless, I think I may be shooting. Some would say, I mean,
Yeah.
I call it the Ozempic anti-DEI movement because I used to probably shoot at least once a month, and that's really shifted and changed. I might be shooting next week, which would be great, but
Fine. Yeah.
it's just changed.
Yeah.
And that's fine.
Yeah. It's not fine. No, it's not. No.
Well,
It's not fine.
actually. It's not.
Yeah. We need
No, it's not fine.
more,
Actually,
we need more diverse voices and diverse spaces and diverse people, because otherwise,
right.
I mean, what ends up happening, because like, honestly, I think kind of like you, I started to feel like, all right, I'm 50 and I've just started to, I'm coming back to Stoked, and I started to feel like I still have gas in the tank. I'm like, so I'm training for this New York City marathon. I want to break a world record for the most mentoring pledges. I'm like, I started a design and remodeling business last year, and I'm like, I have so much more to give. I am not tapping out. Like, forget this. And then the other part too, where you start to realize, and I think I have a hunch that that I know that you believe in this, is that this is a game. And literally, the more risk I take, the more I say hell yes to things, the more it manifests. And I just need to get over that voice, that Ruby,
100%.
right? Like if I can just say, you know what, fuck you right now. I'm going to go for it.
Right.
Right. Like that one's, it's Ruby's just a
100%.
reminder of the things that you don't necessarily want to be. And you're just going to go for it, and like fail, succeed, it doesn't matter. You're just pushing the limits as to what you're capable of.
100%. I mean, quite honestly, this morning I had a big thing happened, which was literally because I just put action behind something I hope would happen. I put some energy behind it. And it happened this morning. And it happened. And it keeps happening. That keeps happening. And to your point, I also feel like it's really, alignment is really important. Meaning, if there is something that comes into your world and it lights you up, it does. Maybe it's a hell yes, but maybe it like, I mean, the thing about the modeling for me, I was like, oh, well, I don't know about the modeling, but I know that I want to be on set with incredible people. I mean, I love it there. So I just took the next best step towards it. I didn't say like, oh, all of a sudden I'm going to have a mother agency and I was shooting in Paris at the beginning of this year. I didn't go all the way there. It felt in alignment because the energy that idea created was real. And I just took a step towards it. I didn't try and solve the whole thing. I just kept taking the next best step. And then guess what happens is you keep getting in the water, and guess what? All of a sudden now you're cutting a hole in the ice and you're getting in the water. And guess what? Then all of a sudden you're writing a book. And then all of a sudden, it's like, okay. So I totally agree.
You can't take your foot off the gas. I love that expression. Don't take your foot off the gas. You just have to keep going. Like,
you just have to keep going. Yeah. Well, the other thing is I started calling this summer my
Yeah.
beta summer, meaning beta testing shit. Like I try stuff. And did it light me up? No. Okay, I did it once. Great. Check. Good. Awesome. That was fun. That was super fun. Tried something else. I'm totally into making natural inks. I don't know why, Steve. No idea. Am I turning it into a business? No. Am I about to become a scribe and a calligraphy master? No. But I loved the idea of making this ink. So I
Yeah.
just kept
Yeah.
beta tested it.
It's really interesting because you start to
Keep
think
trying
about,
it.
like, especially at, the age that we're at right now, you start to think like the 10, 15 years and like what, because before that, when you have young kids, you're thinking about right now and you don't have the sort of luxury. And so I started to think about like,
Right.
oh, who can I be instead of like, who am I right now? And I know what I'm doing right now. I know exactly what I'm doing right now. And right now I'm with you. I'm doing this podcast. This is a podcast that I've wanted to do for over a friggin' year. Like, I've always had podcasts. They served other purposes, but this one is me. And I don't know why it took so long to just do something
Love it.
for yourself and to have the conversations that you want. And so, like, okay, now I'm like,
Right.
okay, great. I know what this conversation can, and I know what it will open up. And I'm like, okay, what else? What else? And so that's interesting thing about like creativity and projects, and you just, it's like what you said. First, you start with that next step, and then you see what happens as a result, right?
Yeah, that's so beautifully said. And I think I just thinking, yeah, I was actually just talking about this with my friend Wanda this morning, which is unless we advocate, unless we take action for ourselves, towards
Nobody,
things we like,
nobody
I
cares.
mean, who else?
Nobody,
Nobody's
not our spouses, not
nobody.
our kids, not our
Nobody
best
cares.
friends. Nobody.
Nobody. So if you like something, you're interested in it, why
Absolutely.
wouldn't you
Nobody else.
try it out? Try it. Nobody else is gonna
Nobody.
offer it up to you on a silver platter.
So this podcast is called Been to the Mountaintop. And when you look at your journey and at this season of life, what does your mountaintop look like?
Oh, it's a great name for a podcast. So for me, the mountaintop is honestly right where I am today, which is a mindset of I don't know. It's just the mountaintop is that feeling, as we talked about earlier, of being yourself, truly yourself. I mean, it's where my nervous system is most relaxed. It's where I have confidence in the things that I'm, exploring. And if something doesn't happen, okay, I'm still good. It's the feeling, as we just said, of I have the capacity and the desire to take action and expend energy on my behalf towards the things that I am interested in. I don't expect anybody else to be interested in natural inks. I don't expect anybody else to necessarily be interested in my modeling or getting in the cold water, but I'm interested in it. So I'm going to keep doing it at a level that is invigorating, exciting, energized. And then, as our dear friend Tina Roth Eisenberg, a la Swiss Miss, says, enthusiasm is contagious. And so I think what happens with you, wonderful human, is that your enthusiasm about life, of the way you move through the world, the things that you're doing are just contagious. And so I just want to move through the world just aligned with what lights me up. That's the top. And again, it brings a relaxed nervous system, which is also incredibly,
For sure.
very, that's an
And
incredible way.
so and this last question is, what are you bringing back down from the mountain to share with the rest of us?
Yeah,
Enthusiasm, joy.
enthusiasm
Yeah.
for finding joy. That's right. Thank you for finding whatever it is for you that brings that kind of joyful energy. I think joy requires us to see it, and I think it exists everywhere at every part of our day. And just,
For sure.
are we in a place where we can see it? So
You're my you're my friend, and I'm
of
very
course. Fantastic.
into
You're
everything
the
that
best.
you're doing. My sort of last point about this was that we would be remiss to say the state of the world that we're in right now and how divisive it is. And I was talking to my wife about this, and she was saying, this isn't the first time in history that people haven't gone through times like these, right? Like slavery and World War I, World War II, and like people still had to find joy. And even with, some of my clients and like it things that may seem through my design business, I just designed a wine nook for somebody. And her husband was like, "Oh, she's got a wine nook. I want a record lounge." And I said to them, listen, you
I
have
love
to
that.
find joy
Awesome.
no matter what, and we need to go after those things with it's our job. And if they give us joy, we need to nurture that, we need to cultivate it. And I'm like, you need to invite people in and have them experience that so that they can find their own joy in the things that they do. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, even over the weekend I went to a Pete Yorn concert. I don't like Pete Yorn. I'd never listened to Pete Yorn before, ever. But I went with my brother-in-law, who's a big Pete Yorn fan, and I got to see his joy at like live acoustic music. And I'm like, and then I'm looking at Pete Yorn on stage. I'm like, Pete Yorn's been around for 25 years. He's at the highest. He's a master at his craft, and that gives me joy. Right? Like, my God. I mean, it's creativity is beautiful, and it's creativity is a thing that, like, by you showing up, you yourself, Libby, you going through what you've been through and the challenges and the joy, and you just showing up, like, is really inspiring to me. So thank you so much for being on this podcast. And I really, really appreciate our friendship and the time that you gave.
I feel the same way, and I feel like we're holding hands at the top of the mountain. So we're very lucky to have each other in our lives. I feel that way, and yeah, thank you for this conversation. As I said, I mean, your questions are beautiful and important, and there's several I'm going to take with me truly on tomorrow's walk. When I head out, I often carry with me a inquiry or a curiosity. So thank you
Love-
for that, and
Thank you as
I
well.
love you dearly.
Tell everybody how they can find your book, your new book.
Sure. Yeah. So you can go to thiscoldjoy.com. Right now, it's really primarily a place to pre-order the book because the book doesn't come out until October 14th. I didn't understand this whole pre-order game, but it's kind of like, say, RSVPing to a party,
Yeah.
and then you got to wait for the party. The party's
This should be out by the time your book
So
comes out. So don't worry.
thiscoldjoy.com.
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. Amazing. Then also you can go to thismorningwalk.com, which is a little bit about the walking practice. And then you can find me on Instagram at Park Here. And why Park Here? My middle name is Park, and I understand I understand that all that comes with, but
All right.
there we are.
Hey,
Yeah.
awesome. I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you for this. Yeah, you're wonderful.